Remember this week, because years from now, when there are Starships flying every single day, people are going to point back to this. SpaceX just had the biggest IPO in history, $2 trillion in market cap. The world's first trillionaire was minted, and then the COO of the company stood there and casually committed to 6 more Starship launches before the end of this year. The era of treating spaceflight as something rare is officially over. Let's break it all down. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It. Let's dive right in. Starship updates. Let's start with the headline. Both vehicles for Flight 13 are essentially ready for their final test campaign. Booster 20 has now likely received all 33 of its Raptor 3 engines. It's currently sitting on the back right stand inside Megabay 1. Ship 40 is in the same stage with all 6 of its Raptor 3 engines installed. Both vehicles are essentially at the same readiness level, engines in awaiting static fire. Rollouts are likely any day now. There was a road closure set for Sunday night. If it did happen, I'll show you the footage here. The most interesting part to look out for is new test tile patterns on the prototype and maybe even small improvements derived from Flight 12. The big jumps will come with a ship catch, when SpaceX can take a closer look at a ship that has flown. Either way, the picture is clear. Flight 13 hardware is approaching its final test gates, and we're looking at a static fire at Massey's for Ship 40 and at Pad 2 for Booster 20 in the very near future. Now to Pad 1, because this will radically change the future of Starship. The Pad 1 refurbishment has now become a major construction focus for SpaceX. Both concrete pourings for the 2 flame trench walls are ongoing. One wall is just a wall. The other carries the footprint of the GSE bunker integrated into it. That's the foundation level of the new pad coming together in real time. At the same time, the trench itself is being excavated. From the air, you can see something that tells you a lot about the original Pad 1. The entire ground inside what will become the new flame trench is full of rebar-reinforced concrete piles, dozens of them driven into the soil for the original launch pad. Heavy excavators with jackhammers are now breaking that old concrete apart again, piece by piece, removing the unwanted material from inside the new flame trench area. This is what it looks like when SpaceX rebuilds a pad from the ground up. They're not just refurbishing on top of the old structure, they are tearing out everything that's no longer part of the new design. Now follow the flow of all that material because it leads us directly to the production site where the parts for the new pad are arriving and getting staged. From the air, you can see how many parts actually make up a modern Starship launch pad. Thousands of individual components, all of them needing to find their way into exactly the right spot on the new pad. It's not just the flame bucket parts. SpaceX has also brought in the components that will make up the new OLM box, the square structure that will eventually be lifted into the finished pad socket. And the new ring of hold-down arms for the OLM is taking shape in its own staging area, already in an advanced stage of assembly. Once that ring is finished, it gets integrated into the square frame of the OLM box itself. Everything is neatly separated and staged. Watching this on the ground, you can almost picture the final pad assembling itself from the staging area outward. The big production milestone this week? SpaceX has finally stacked the last level of the massive Gigabay. The building's structural steelwork is complete. The Gigabay is going to feed SpaceX's ship and booster production pipeline at a scale that nothing currently in operation can match. 24 bays under one roof. That's an enormous step up from the current Megabay 1 and Megabay 2 layout we've been tracking for years. And the production capacity matters because SpaceX has built up demand for ships and boosters that is genuinely colossal. The lunar base SpaceX is openly planning, the million-satellite AI compute constellation they've already filed for, NASA's Artemis program. Every one of those programs needs a continuous flow of Starship hardware to feed it. The Gigabay is the answer. Next steps for the building itself? Cladding the entire structure, installing heavy gantry cranes, and fitting out the workstations inside. Fleshing it out will likely take another 6 months or so before actual production can begin. But here's the thing, SpaceX doesn't wait. We saw this with both megabays, where prototype construction was already happening inside long before the buildings were officially finished. They don't wait for completed buildings. They usually start working as soon as the space is usable. And what if you want to improve your efficiency? Many people building the future of spaceflight now lean on AI to move faster. So let's talk about actually getting good at it. Today's sponsor is Outskill. Most people open up an AI model like Claude, see the options, freeze, and never find out what it can actually do. Outskill fixes that. Outskill is running a free Claude-focused 2-day workshop this weekend, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. Most people use Claude like a slightly fancier Google, but it can do a lot more. What if I told you that it's used to build apps, design presentations, and automate whole workflows without writing a line of code through tools like Claude Code and Cowork? You'll do deep research, build your own artifacts and dashboards, create full presentations, set up connectors, get hands-on with Claude Code, and build your own agents. You'll also get a prompt Bible, Claude Code secrets, and a personalized AI toolkit builder. Grab your free seat to the 2-day AI Mastermind. Find the link below or scan the QR code on your screen. 100% discount for the first 1,000 people. Dive deep into AI and learn automations, build AI agents, make videos and images, all for free. Bonuses worth $5,100 plus if you join and attend. Try it out today and help Y in return. Back to Starbase, a few quick notes on the rest of the production pipeline. Mauricio from RGV Aerial Photography brought back great views of Booster 21 inside Megabay 1. We're looking at the lower section, the oxygen tank, without the engine section attached yet. While Booster 20 is running through its test parkour, Booster 21 is already lining up behind it. Next in the queue for Flight 14 with the path forward depending on whether SpaceX plans to attempt a catch on Booster 20. And on that question, my read is this. Booster 19 was the source of the biggest issues during Flight 12, the booster anomalies during boostback and the failed landing burn. Given that, SpaceX might decide to do another nominal soft water landing without catch attempts on Flight 13. Get another clean run on the books before committing the catch tower to a returning V3 booster. We'll see. Ship 39.1, the V3 ship test article, ran its 14th and 15th cryotests on June 10th and 11th. SpaceX is using 39.1 to test new ship-related design changes, very likely already implementing findings from Flight 12. Test articles do work that flight vehicles can't, and 39.1 is earning every cryocycle it gets. These aerial images are essential for my reporting. If you're down at Starbase, make sure to pay our official partner, SPI Helicopters, a visit and book a flight. The same views as our photographers get, it is unforgettable and worth every penny. Click the card or the link in the description, help Y in return, check it out today. Now to Florida, because Starship infrastructure expanded again this week. At Space Launch Complex 37, the first Mechazilla tower has begun stacking. The first segment is in place at the Cape, which is a massive milestone all on its own. We're now watching the fourth Starship tower go up, 2 at Starbase, 2 at the Cape. And SpaceX has signaled that at least one more tower is coming in Florida. SpaceX is moving from 1 operational Starship pad to 5 at the same time. For the Mechazilla tower at Pad 39A, SpaceX went from the first segment lift in June of 2022 to a fully stacked tower by early October of the same year. About 4 months. Now, in 2026, with all the experience they've accumulated, we can maybe even expect a faster timeline at Slick 37. By the end of this year, we could be looking at a second stacked tower at the Cape ready for outfitting. And speaking of Pad 39A, SpaceX has continued work here as well. SpaceX is still aiming to have Pad 39A ready for a Starship launch before the end of 2026. Given how much work is happening at the Cape right now, that's still very much in play. Here's a quick rundown on the SpaceX IPO. It happened on June 12th, and the numbers are genuinely historic. SpaceX went public, ticker SPCX, on the Nasdaq. The IPO raised $75 billion at a $1.77 trillion valuation. That's the biggest IPO in history by a massive margin. The previous record, Saudi Aramco's about $29 billion in 2019, was easily doubled. Shares opened up 11%, hit a high near $176, and closed up 19%. Market cap pushed above $2 trillion during the day. The IPO is reported to have made Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire and created about 4,400 employee millionaires inside the company. A welder who got an early $10,000 stock grant walked out with $880,000 on opening day. That's the scale. Musk rang the opening bell virtually from Starbase. He said he gave SpaceX less than a 10% chance of succeeding when he founded the company in a warehouse in El Segundo in 2002. He said the journey was hard to believe. That's about right. The IPO was very impressive, and it shows how important SpaceX has become globally. And in the heat of it all, important information dropped as well. During the IPO, Gwynne Shotwell, SpaceX's president and COO and employee number 11 from the founding days, said something that pins down our entire near-term picture of where Starship is going.
We want another suborbital shot on the next flight, and then I hope we at least attempt an orbital injection on Flight 14.
She said Flight 13 will be another suborbital attempt, same profile as Flight 12. I had already thought that this would be the case. But if everything works on Flight 13, Flight 14 is the orbital injection flight, including a ship catch attempt at the tower. She also said SpaceX is aiming for July for Flight 13. That's your official confirmation. And after that, a monthly cadence.
So what is it, beginning of June? Maybe a month-ish away from Flight 13. Okay. And then we should fly every month.
When asked if it was safe to say we'd have Starship operational and in orbit before the end of this year, she didn't hesitate.
Oh, in orbit? Yeah. Oh, yes.
Let that sink in. So here's what that timeline actually looks like. Flight 13 in July, then Flight 14, which should be the orbital injection and the first V3 ship catch attempt in August. Then Flight 15 a month later in September, Flight 16 a month after that, 6 more Starship launches in 2026. That is a pace at which development accelerates rapidly, and it lines up exactly with what I predicted on the show. Flight 13 at the beginning of July and monthly flights from there. The runway just got a lot clearer. Shotwell pinned down a monthly cadence after Flight 13. How many Starship launches do you think we actually get in 2026? 4, 6, 8, maybe even more? And does Flight 14 land a clean ship catch on the first attempt? Drop your predictions below. I'll be reading every single one. Yay, you've reached the middle of the video. You made it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching and liking the video. If you're among the 40% who haven't subscribed yet, and there was at least one video you learned something new from, it would mean the world to me if you did. It is free and it genuinely helps more people find my channel. Want to make my world even easier? There's only one place you'd rather be. The Y Members Club on Patreon and right here on YouTube. Click the card or the join button right here under the video. You are the reason we keep doing this. Thank you so much. You rock. Now let's have a look back at NASA's Moon Base press conference. It revealed something interesting. The agency was supposed to pick one moon rover. One. An advanced driving machine, a moon truck to carry Artemis astronauts across the lunar South Pole. That's not what happened. On May 26, 2026, NASA declared they had picked 2 designs.
For the lunar terrain vehicles. In this case, we're going to award 2 of them.
2 completely different rovers, built by 2 completely different companies with 2 completely different ideas about what a moon truck even is. And the company everyone thought was the frontrunner? They're out. Let's have a good look at the 2 machines that just won the right to drive humans on the moon for the first time since 1972. Astrolab's CLV-1 and Lunar Outpost's Pegasus. What's actually inside them? How are they different? And why did NASA decide one rover wasn't enough? Let's get into it. NASA's Lunar Terrain Vehicle Program, the LTV, has been running since 2024. 3 teams made the cut for the early phase: intuitive machines with a rover called Moonracer, Lunar Outpost with their Eagle, and Venturi Astrolab with a rover called Flex. The plan, as everyone understood it, was a straightforward competition. 3 contenders, 1 winner, 1 rover to rule them all. And then NASA's new administrator, Jared Isaacman, basically tore that plan up. His logic was that building one perfect rover does nothing to build a lunar economy. He wanted choice and competition, more innovation, faster production. Congress was nudging in the same direction. NASA was to pick no fewer than 2 LTV providers. So instead of one perfect do-it-all rover, NASA ordered 2 good ones with a slightly different design philosophy. Astrolab got a task order worth about $219 million. Lunar Outpost got about $220 million, near identical checks for 2 winners. But not everyone can be a winner. Intuitive Machines, the company a lot of people had pegged as the favorite, didn't get a task order this time. To be fair, and this matters, they are not completely out of the game. A fact often missed is that all 3 companies still hold the underlying contract with a $4.6 billion ceiling spread over 13 years. Intuitive Machines is still eligible for future orders, they just didn't get this one. But what about the 2 that did? This is where it gets interesting. These aren't 2 versions of the same rover, there is a slightly different focus in the vehicle's designs. Let's start with Astrolab's CLV-1. We've talked about the development of this vehicle before, but at the time Astrolab still developed it as a logistics platform. It didn't start life as a crew vehicle at all. Astrolab's original rover, Flex, was designed as a modular workhorse. It was set to become the first fully commercial, swappable payload planetary rover. The idea was a single chassis that could haul cargo one day, carry science instruments the next, and pick up a crew module after that. And the defining feature is this thing they call wheel on limb. This calls for an explanation. Picture a normal rover. You see wheels bolted to a fixed body. Now, imagine instead that each wheel sits at the end of an articulated limb, like a leg. That lets the rover raise and lower its whole body, keep itself level on a slope, and dampen bumps at speed. Another benefit is that the rover can physically crouch down, grab a modular payload off the ground, and stand back up with it. This rover is its own forklift. That's clever. The wheels themselves are special too. Venturi developed hyper-deformable wheels. They flex and warp to mold around rocks and ruts instead of bouncing over them. And all 4 wheels steer independently, so the thing can turn on a dime. It can also drive sideways, and that might sound like a party trick, but it has a very clever use case. At the lunar South Pole, the sun never climbs high. It just skims along the horizon. CLV-1's solar panels are mounted on the sides of the rover. By crab walking, the rover can keep driving forward while constantly aligning its side-mounted panels at the low grazing sunlight. It's perfectly adapted to its harsh environment. The version NASA actually ordered is slimmed down from that big original Flex. CLV-1 comes in at around 950 kilograms and has a focus on crew transport. It carries 2 suited astronauts, top speed is around 10 kilometers an hour on flat ground, though the prototype's been driven faster. And it's got a gimbaling high-gain antenna. In other words, a dish that physically steers itself to stay locked on Earth for high-bandwidth comms. The trade-off? NASA's CLV-1 is focused on moving astronauts and their supplies rather than the big external payloads the full Flex was famous for. So, some of that Swiss Army knife capability, like the robotic arm on the heavy cargo deck, may or may not survive into the flight model. Astrolab's partner list tells you the strategy, though. Venturi on wheels and batteries. Axiom Space, who make the actual Artemis spacesuit on crew interfaces, Interloon on lunar resources. And Odyssey Space Research, run by a former NASA flight director, on the rover's human-rated software. This is a company developing a platform, not just a single vehicle. What about the other winner? Lunar Outpost went the complete opposite direction. Pegasus is, in spirit, the Apollo moon buggy reborn, built by the people who'd know. Here's the lineage. Lunar Outpost's bigger rover was called Eagle, and Eagle was a maxed-out design. It featured a robotic arm, and a 10-year operational lifespan was promised. Now, Pegasus is what you get when NASA says smaller, cheaper, sooner, and its supplier listens. Lunar Outpost took Eagle and they stripped it down. No robotic arm, a roughly 1-year operational life instead of 10, 2 astronauts sitting side by side in a low-profile design. It looks like a descendant of the 1971 LRV, and that is not an accident. Just look at who's building it. General Motors supplies the battery and electric propulsion. GM was the company that built the wheels, suspension, and drivetrain for the original Apollo lunar rover. Goodyear supplies the tires. Airless, non-pneumatic metal mesh using metal alloys engineered to stay flexible in lunar conditions. Those are a direct descendant of the wire mesh tires Goodyear made for Apollo. And Leidos handles the system engineering, comms, science, and life support adjacent systems. In a sense, Pegasus at its core feels like Detroit's going to the moon. Automotive-grade subsystems, proven supply chains built to fly fast. On paper, Pegasus is actually a little quicker than LTV-1. The company quotes up to 15 kilometers an hour. It drives in 3 modes, with humans at the controls, fully autonomous, or remote controlled from Earth. It can also livestream off the lunar surface. A lot of Pegasus's hard numbers just aren't public. Its exact mass, its dimensions, its battery capacity, how many hours it can survive the lunar night, all of that is yet unknown. So that's the two of them. One's a modular platform pretending to be a crew car. The other's a crew car that refuses to pretend it's anything else. Which raises the obvious question, what are they actually meant for? Both rovers serve the same Artemis architecture, just from different angles. The headline job is the same, carry 2 suited astronauts around the lunar South Pole. During crewed missions, the rover gets pre-positioned a couple kilometers away from the human lander. NASA wants to ensure it's far enough away that the landing rocket's plume doesn't sandblast it. Once the lander has touched down, the rover drives to the landing site to collect the crew, on its own, automatically. And here's the genuinely new part versus Apollo. Between crewed missions, these rovers don't sleep. When the astronauts don't need them, they get remote controlled from Earth or run autonomously. Their jobs include scouting terrain, hauling material, doing science, and pre-staging resources. Robotic excursions could stack up to a couple 100 kilometers. The Apollo rovers stayed parked. These will be working the whole time. CLV-1's specialty is logistics and resources. Astrolab's partner Interloon is integrating a camera to prospect for helium-3. This rover is ready for deploying solar towers and collecting sample containers. Pegasus is pitched more at site exploration, foundational science, prospecting, and prepping the ground for the base itself. Lunar Outpost refers to its rover as industrial robotic workforce. And there is a commercial life beyond NASA, too, for these vehicles. Especially for Astrolab, which already signed the first commercial lunar cargo deal with SpaceX to fly a rover on Starship. It has lined up paying customers worth over $160 million. Lunar Outpost, for its part, points to a manifest of 9 contracted missions, including building Australia's first lunar rover. A question remains, how do they actually get to the moon? Both of them, right down to the surface on Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1 lander. Both target 2028. This stage should be taken with a grain of salt, though. It depends on Blue Moon Mark 1 flying on schedule, the rover's passing qualification in about 18 months, and the broader Artemis timeline, which has slipped before and can slip again. Right now, after Blue Origin's catastrophic hot fire incident, I am not even sure if New Glenn can return to service this year. Even in this new space exploration reality, with multiple commercial players in the field, things still have to align perfectly. NASA's new way of doing things, involving multiple partners for similar requirements, is a good approach. But at this moment, we are still in the beginning of this new era. And right now, we must accept that there is a very real lack of launch vehicles ready for the growing Artemis ambitions. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our all-time favorite Raptor engine design and countless others are there for you to explore. Click the card or the US or worldwide link in the description. And if you want to know how SpaceX is planning to build a self-sustained moon base in the next 10 years, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode.